Hey guys, welcome to Leica Pro. My name's Mark. Today we are delidding a CPU. So why should we do this? Well, you probably shouldn't. Delidding is not the best idea. The only reason why you delid a CPU, which is taking the top part there off, is to get to the manufacturer's or Intel's substandard heatsink, I guess, compound. So you then replace it with a much better, something like this, Thermal Grizzly, that then has a better heat removing property. So why should you do it? Well, you can get probably 10% better out of your CPU. It is better. You wouldn't do it for anything that is an overclockable chip, so the K series chips, or maybe even some AMD chips. Now you can actually delid the CPU using a Stanley knife, but don't. You're just asking for trouble. You really are. Get an actual proper block that can remove it safely, so you don't cut yourself, don't damage the CPU. What I've done here, just to make sure that once the lid comes off, I've actually just put little marker dots on there with a Sharpie or something similar, so I know where to line it up, and of course the arrows line up here. Once the way it works is the lid will go on, and the little shovel here will push the shoulder of the lid and pop it up. So the way we do that is put it on top like this, make sure it's all back, grab the screws. Okay, you want to make sure this is tight, finger tight, but not super tight. You don't want this to buckle or anything like that, so you just want it tight, finger tight, but not too much. Okay, and the third one. Okay, once that's done, you can then see that the CPU's in there, no problems at all, and then we literally start winding the screw in it. All of a sudden it's really tight, so it's right up against it. Start using an Allen wrench. I'm using the Rocket 88 delidder, but you're listening for a pop. There we go. That's done. Now it's gone a little bit loose, so we wind this back. We undo the clamping screws. Okay, you can see that it's just starting to come off. Yeah, just like that. So you can see underneath, you can see it just uses like a substandard heatsink compound, nothing too special, not even that much of it. Now what we're going to do here is, well, first we'll put the CPU back so it's safe. In the right angle, just like that. All of this needs to be cleaned off, so scrape it all out. The black sealant, judging by this actually, the black sealant actually wasn't completely all the way around, so it wasn't actually sealed either. You can see on here, it wasn't quite sealed back from factory, which is another good reason to get it done properly. So you can just go ahead and scratch this off with your fingernail pretty much. It's not anything special. This you should probably clean with some alcohol, including some of the compound that's obviously left out. Clean it all up, and then we'll go on to the next step. So all this needs to go, all of that needs to go, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've removed off enough, I guess, from the top of the lid. And from the bottom here I've scraped off a lot of the black, but it's still a little bit there. I'm leaving some of it there, so when I put some of the gasket stuff that I've got on, it'll stick to it a little bit better. But the CPU's clean enough for now. So the next step from here is we need to mask off our border before we put on the Grizzly, because the Grizzly is a very fine paste, and it is yeah, because it's metal. If you get it on any of these other transistors down the side here, it'll just kill the CPU. So it's important to blank off everything, including the top, so that they have a nice bond when you squeeze them back together. So I'll go ahead now and I'll tape these up. I'm just using normal sellotape or sticky tape or whatever you like to call it. Just like that. The next bit. There's the first part. Now you just got to make sure the lid is up the right way. That's why the marking always helps. So I know that there's my mark there. So I'll just flip that over. I'll do the same sort of pattern there, leaving that sort of strip in the center there. So this one's a little bit trickier because it's sort of sunken down a bit. No, I don't think that's straight enough. This one doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs a little bit of a seal at the top, just to help it bond together, that's all. Some people skip this step, and that's fine if you wish to. Probably fine without it. So I've just made a tiny little rectangle there in the middle. Yeah, it's probably close enough. So the next step is to put on the Grizzly thermal paste, or any Arctic Silver sort of paste will do. It just has to be that metal compound type. So this is the Grizzly that we're using. This type has a nice little squeeze tip. Now, literally less is more. It's not so much a pea size at all. Use one of these to squeeze it out and to put it along the CPU. You really do not need much at all. Okay, that's probably too much, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so we've got plenty on there. I'll put the remainder on here so we don't waste any. As you can see, a little bit goes a long way. Okay, so from here, you just wipe the excess out on the tape. Got a lot of excess on here that we need to get off. A good tip is to actually work transistor side and away, so if you do have too much, it'll at least squeeze out to a side that can afford to have it spill over. But you really do not want too much of this stuff. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, so from here, my next step will be to take these off slowly. Moving nice and delicately if we can. Definitely no rush. Okay, that's done. You can see all the excess that I put down. Okay, so the CPU and lid are now prepped to be glued back on. Okay, so the next step is pack up the Grizzly because you don't need it. You really don't now that you're done, so that's done. The next part is putting it back together. Now, you can just use super glue. I'm going to be using a gasket, which is just basically rubber glue. And you can either put it, there's a few different ways you can put it on, but the best way is usually the same way you put on the previous one, which is just with a cotton bud, and you just want to do the square around it again. You can either put it on the lid or you can put it on the CPU, either one's fine. It is a rubber glue, so it should be fine to apply plenty of. Probably far too much there. Grab my paper towel. Paper towels, very handy to have. Get a few handy. You could just squeeze it on and probably have it hanging out the sides and everything else, and that's fine if you're happy with that. I'm not, so I'm just putting on a little bit as we go. As you saw, Intel's previous attempts weren't exactly the best, although it's probably all machine done, I'd say. There's a dry bit. Over the bit where Intel didn't have anything. Oop, so that stays there. All this is to do is just prevent the air getting in and out. That's pretty much it. Okay, that should be plenty. So I've made a simple square. Now the next tricky part is to put it all back together. So you have to remember, you don't have to have it the same way up that you did, but I like to have it the way it was, so matching my dots again. I put this down very carefully indeed. Oh, got some on me. Get rid of that first. Some gasket glue. Okay. Okay, so once this is down, we really want to be careful not to get too much anywhere else. Actually, I should probably clean my fingers, but I won't for now. Ooh, that's a little bit off. Okay, now with this unit there is a little shim that goes over the top. I can actually line it all up for you. Just need to make sure it all clicks on, like so. It looks like it's all clicked on, which positions it in. Now the next part is wash your hands. Okay, so it's currently setting. So the next step is to, well, lock it in. So we have the arm here. It's like a Y shape that we put down. We use the same 3 screws again. Okay, that's locking in. Again, this is only finger tight. You really don't want to go much tighter than that. Just finger tight. You really don't want to squeeze it right down or make any damage. And then you have the pressing screw. Which goes down again a little bit tighter. So you can see that it's in a vise now. You can see the red all the way around the CPU, not hitting too much, making a nice little seal. And this will take a few hours. I think it's 6 hours. Let me just check. It says 15 minutes, but I don't believe that. We're going to leave it for a few hours anyway, and then we'll get back to it, put it in the CPU and see what it overclocks to. So, well, I guess we'll see you in a few hours.